best basketball position. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Watch where you're stepping, I'm a big stepper, dog. I earn my respect, I will set it off. You can meet me outside, I don't really want to talk. You should really watch your mouth when you're talking to a boss.
Today we're talking about what basketball position is best. And this is just my opinion. And just like in any other video where I give you my straight opinion, I want you to know that it's okay with me if you completely disagree with me. I'm not trying to tell you I'm right. I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong. I'm not trying to get you to agree with me, right? And if you disagree with me even completely, like if you're on the complete opposite side of what I'm saying, that's okay with me. Just let me know down in the comments so that we can communicate and we can learn from each other and get better. That's first of all. Second of all is I am an outdoor recreational player almost exclusively. Now that doesn't mean I don't know or understand organized basketball like AAU in high school. Of course I do. Of course I understand. I spent my life studying basketball. It's a lifelong passion of mine. I take it very seriously. So I have a very good understanding of all aspects of the game. I always say this channel is applicable to any basketball player, but it's intended for those of us who like to play outdoor recreational basketball and are trying to become the best basketball players we can be. But that doesn't mean I don't have an understanding of indoor organized basketball. So that being said, let's start with indoor basketball, organized basketball, and talk about the best position for that kind of basketball. When we're talking about organized style basketball like AAU or high school, the easiest and most obvious answer to what basketball position is the best is it depends on what position fits you best and what position you are most effective at when you play that position. But because it's obvious, it doesn't really help you. So I will say that the best basketball position you can play for indoor organized basketball is the small forward position. When we're talking about point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center, right? In that mix, you are the middle player, right? You are, and because of that, you are theoretically the most versatile player. Meaning that not only do you play sort of your specific position as small forward, but really your job description as small forward is to do a little bit of everything. You're kind of a jack of all trades. Meaning ideally, you can kind of slide over from time to time and you can take on some of the shooting guard's duties. Or you can slide over to the power forward position from time to time and take on some of his duties. You're kind of a utility player on the floor, meaning whatever anyone else around you needs, like whatever they need you to supplement them with, you can do that. Which causes you to need to be a well-rounded basketball player. Probably the most well-rounded position on the court. Even in some unforeseen like emergency situations where like for some reason maybe you need to slide over and take over some of the point guard duties from a play to play, time to time for a stretch. You can do that because you're well-rounded enough to do that. Same thing with playing the center. If there's some unforeseen emergency situation where you need to play the center position for a play or two or a stretch here or there, you could do that as well because you're supposed to be the most well-rounded, versatile position on the floor. So to me, because of how well-rounded that position requires you to be, because it requires you to be well-rounded and be able to do a little bit of everything here and there at any time, that's why I say small forward is probably the best position to play when you're talking about indoor organized basketball. The problem with indoor organized basketball is choosing your position is kind of out of your hands, right? It all kind of depends on your size and your height. Obviously, the taller you are, the more you're going to be playing in the front court towards the basket, and the shorter you are, the more likely it is you're going to be playing in the back court away from the basket. So if you're not the right size or height, you very well may not end up playing the small forward. But if you can choose your position for indoor organized basketball, I would say to choose the small forward position. That's the best position to play for the mere fact that it forces you, it requires you to be the most well-rounded player on the floor. Now getting to outdoor recreational basketball, when you're trying to figure out what the best position is out here, it works differently, right? Because, you know, it's not organized. And you can play any kind of combination of games, so anything from 1-on-1 to 5-on-5. And even in neighborhoods, cities, and parks where like the courts are always super crowded, so you're always playing at least 4-on-4, if not 5-on-5. Even in situations like that, the positions that you play are not really ever clearly defined. About as particular as it gets is like if you go to the court, random outdoor parks, and you happen to be one of the tallest guys every time you go out there, well then you're going to kind of be expected to play the kind of center position and have center duties. The same thing with if you're one of the smaller players, one of the shorter players, right? You're going to be expected to play around the perimeter and have guard duties. Other than that, it doesn't really get specific in terms of what kind of position you're actually supposed to play out here. Recreationally, it's more about what kind of player are you? What kind of game do you have? And for that scenario, I say probably the best kind of player you can be, especially if you're a younger player, a more beginner player, the best kind of player you can be out here, the best position you could be is a 3-and-D guy. For those of you who don't know what a 3-and-D guy is, that means you're a good 3-point shooter, right? Especially a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. And you're a above average effective defensive player as well. Because what you need to understand about the hierarchy out here of how it works is the established players out here, the players that are regular, like every day, every week, known players out here, the OGs out here, even if they are only just slightly above average, usually those players are kind of arrogant. They're kind of selfish because out here, a lot of what we do and why we do it has to do with our reputation, what other players around us think of us, which leads many of us to become kind of arrogant and kind of selfish once we kind of crest that peak of being just even a little bit better than average. And when you show up to a random park and you're like a new face and they've never seen you before, they don't know you, right? They're not familiar with you. The most important thing that you want to try to do is get on the court, get game time, get games under your feet, get experience, let them get to know you and experience how you are as a player. The way you do that is by ingratiating yourself to them. The way you ingratiate yourself to them is by helping them to show off, helping them to win, helping them to shine. That's what they want. That's what their goal is. The more you can help them do that, the better you're going to make it for yourself because you're going to allow them to see you in a light where it's like, okay, when that guy shows up, he helps me look good and to win. I want him on my team. The more they want you on their team, the more game time you're going to get. The more game time you have, the more experience you're going to get, the faster, better player you're going to become. When we're talking about 3-and-D guys, what that means is you need to become a above average 3-point shooter, and not the kind of 3-point shooter where you isolate on your own, you dribble and get yourself open for your own 3-point shot. Obviously, eventually that's the kind of player you will and want to become, but when we're talking about, getting started, getting your foot in the door and getting ingratiated out here, right? I'm talking about getting yourself open off the ball to become a catch and shoot 3-point shooter at first. Because what the OGs are going to do out here, right? They're going to get the ball in their hands. They're going to isolate, go 1-on-1 or 1 on however many, right? They're going to draw the defense to them. Once they do that, it's your job to get open, to get into a good 3-point shooting position, because once they draw the defense to themselves, eventually they will kick the ball out to you. And if you're open, they expect you to make that 3-point shot. The more you do that, the more consistent you are doing that, the better you're going to ingratiate yourself to doing that, because it allows them to show off. It makes them look good when they get that kind of an assist. And then defensively, it's all about making the game easier for them. So you want to get to the point where you're an above average effective defender, meaning they can count on you to make good defensive plays, to bring good defensive energy, to be smart on defense, and to get good defensive stops when they're needed. And ideally, you want to get to the position where they can count on you to be the team's best defender, in that you always defend the other team's best scorer. Because a lot of times what your team's best scorer will do, right, they'll try to take on the responsibility saying, I'm the best scorer, thus I'm, the best player because I'm the best scorer. That means I should also be guarding the other team's best scorer. The problem with that is that's a huge energy drain. If you can prove to them that you can defend the other team's best player, their best scorer, and you can do it effectively, that saves their body, their energy for offense, so they can do what they do best. They can isolate, they can score, they can show off, they can make themselves look good. The more you allow them to do that, the better. The more consistent you do that, the more you're going to ingratiate yourself to them. I understand how it sounds that like, oh, you have to sort of be less than, right? You have to be subservient to the better, more experienced players out here. I understand if your attitude is like, that's not what I want to do. I want to be one of those OG kind of players myself. I get that. The thing is, the way it works out here, whether you like it or not, the fact is, the way it works is the closer you get to them, right, the more they see you as their equal, because the more you ingratiate yourself to them, the more you help them show off, the more you help them win, right, the closer they're going to bring you to their inner circle. The closer you are to them, like the more affiliated they feel with you and bring you to them, to their level, that's going to make you more and more of an OG yourself. At which point, that is when you can start to expand your game beyond being just a 3-and-D guy. But there is a hierarchy, there is a process out here that you usually have to go through, and you should go through it because it's going to help you to become the better and best player you can be. And if you're trying to maximize and optimize how to do that, the position of being a 3-and-D guy first is the best position to go with out here recreationally. Those are the best basketball positions. It's kind of a two-tier question, right? Because if the question is, what is the best overall basketball position there is, well, then that's obviously an opinion question, right? And it can be fun to debate, what position you think is best. For me, I'm a natural point guard, so thus I would argue that point guard is best. But I realize that's just an ego thing, right? So that would be just opinion, and that's fun, and that's something that you can always debate. But if the question is, what's the best position for you, or what is the best position you should play, well, really that comes down to becoming a question that only you can answer for yourself. Now, if you're a new player, a younger player, and you're playing organized basketball and a coach assigns you to play a certain position, that's fine. Understand what that position is, what's required of it, what your duties are, and do your best to develop into the best player for that position you can be. But in the process of doing that, in the process of you developing your own game and understanding who you are as a player, the more you're going to understand if whether or not that position that was assigned to you is actually the best position for you or not. Because it's not just about how tall or big you are or how tall or big you're going to be. It's also very much about how you think the game, how you see and understand the game. Because the way you think and see and understand the game may be a lot different than, the height or your size of the player that you are, meaning just because you're a certain size doesn't mean you should or have to play a certain position. As I always say, you're going to have to experiment extensively, right? Experiment. See what works best for you and go with that. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, if you found it helpful, if you think it's going to help you to understand and choose what position you should play out here, like how you're going to fit in best to the best position for you out here, then please subscribe to the channel. And like I said, let me know down in the comments, do you agree? What do you think the best position is? But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below, because when you hit that thanks button, any comment that you make is going to be highlighted and stand out from all the other comments. Also, that thanks button directly supports the channel, so for anybody that does hit that thanks button, know I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment like I said. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, I'll see you guys next week.
I reign supreme, a living legend. Look at me with reverence. Applying pressure is a deadly weapon. Yeah. So you should watch where you steppin'. I'm a big stepper, dog, down to the last second.